How's it going, guys? So I hope everyone's having a good day. I'm kind of wanting to do something different on this video. Kind of going a little on the deep end here. I kind of want to talk about mythical creatures and aliens and stuff like that.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Because I've been really thinking about doing a documentary when I get back over the Philippines. And I really want to start covering like stuff like that, like the mythical creatures and stuff like that that is in the folklore in the Philippines. Because it seems really interesting, and I'm sure there's lots of people who haven't even heard anything about it. So I think it'd be kind of cool to bring some light into it. So I kind of want to start off with my past experiences. So I think the very first one I could ever remember is aliens, and that's pretty much my biggest fear in the world, like aliens coming in and abducting me. And oh my god. Worst fear in the world. Bears, sharks, I'll take that way over before fucking aliens. So I bet a lot of you guys don't know that I grew up about 3.5 years in Alaska on the Aleutian Islands. So those are the islands that are coming off Alaska. And I think it's right in the middle. It's called Island. That's where we actually grew up. And it was pretty much like a big army base that was abandoned after World War II. There was just tons and tons of like army barracks and all kinds of army gear just all left over. So it was a pretty cool place to explore. But one thing that always stood out in my memory about that place is there was a big volcano on the island. And like the island is only 73 kilometers across, I think. So it's kind of a pretty small island. So you could always see the volcano from the house and stuff like that. And my parents and my grandparents and aunts and uncles, and they all told me the same stories about UFOs going in and out of the volcanoes. And it always just freaked me out and stuff. And they'd always tell us like, oh look, there's more UFOs, blah blah blah. And I was just like, that's freaky. I never saw any UFOs going in and out. I have no recollection or memory of any of that kind of stuff happening. So I was just way too young to remember it or be out there watching it. But everyone remembers. Everyone was really freaked out about it. My dad was like freaked out, like, what the fuck? Maybe we shouldn't be on this island. This is really freaky. So yeah, there was always like that weird tension always staying out there, like, ew, this is kind of strange. Why is there lights going in and out of this volcano? That doesn't make any sense. And I think there's only like one other family that we knew that was somewhat close by, like a 20 kilometers away. And there was a native village way on the other side of the island. So there wasn't really much like communication between like people unless you got on your quad, your four-wheeler, and you drove over to the neighbors and stuff. But other than that, you have to go on a big trek to go talk to people. So we were really out in the boonies, like by ourselves. So I think that got everyone on edge a little bit more. And they would always freak me out, and they'd be like, oh, I think Dayton was abducted by aliens or something. He's always making weird noises and stuff. And I don't know why. I can remember like going bow, wow, 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 making weird noises, and they're like, oh, he's speaking gibberish, he's speaking alien talk. And I'm just like, I don't know. I can remember like just doing it to like just make them think like, oh, what is he doing? But yeah, I never really took it serious at all. I didn't want to because I was like totally freaked out. It's like, oh no, I wasn't abducted. Don't worry about that. But there was one time, and it was so freaking scary. One of the most scariest moments in my life. Like I was almost like traumatized by it. I probably was a little bit. But pretty much my whole family, everyone who was living there, except me and my grandma, everyone took off on the plane and they went to Dutch Harbor, which is like the closest big town on the mainland. And they went to go get supplies, and they left us to watch the house, and just they didn't really want to bring me along because I was just a little kid, I think 2 or 3 or something like that, or 4. And that night was so freaky. My grandma actually woke me up in the middle of the night saying, oh my god, Dayton, oh my god, they're here, they're here. I'm like, what? And I heard all these noises like meow, meow, meow. I'm like, oh my god, that's the noise they say I make. Maybe they're coming to get me. I'm just freaking out like, oh my god. My grandma's like, oh, I'll protect you. Just getting me all freaking freaked out and riled up. I'm like, holy shit. I remember she went and grabbed like something, some kind of weapon or something. And then she's like, oh, I'll go check or something. And then she went out, and as soon as she went outside, then she found out what it was. It was actually dogs that just gave birth to a bunch of puppies, and it was just a bunch of puppies just going just making little dog noises. And oh my god, that pretty much just like wrecked me. I was just like, oh my god. I was just like, holy shit. So yeah, that's where I got my fear of aliens. I pretty much had that fear coming back from Alaska and staying in Canada and stuff. I'd always be freaked out at night to even look out the window and stuff, because I'd always be like, oh, there might be an alien peeking in on me or something like that. Oh my god, just freak me right out. It's just like, nope, I do not want to see that. So yeah, and then I think around age 12 or so, I actually lost a tooth. And then I looked in the tooth, and it looked like there was a perfectly square black chip. It looked like a fucking chip. I showed everyone. Everyone's like, that's a perfect square. They said, it looks like a perfect square. It doesn't look like a cavity or anything like that. And I was just like freaking out. I was just like, oh my god, oh my god. So I took that tooth and I just chucked it. I was just like, goodbye. I was like, if they're tracking me, we're moving. Because we were about to move in like a week or so when I lost the tooth. So I was moving next to a new house. And then after that, I pretty much stopped worrying about aliens so much. Like, I didn't care about it. I kind of grew out of it. Except until Signs came out. If you guys ever watched the movie Signs, one of the creepiest frickin' alien movies ever. That kind of brought it back. And then after that movie, then I was always just like watching on rooftops and shit like that. I was just like, ah. But yeah, after that, it pretty much died down. And I guess I'll tell you guys about the last experience I had. And it's kind of hard to say that it was an experience, but I kind of believe maybe that's what aliens are. Maybe it's a subconscious thing, because one time I was sleeping and I felt like I was half asleep or something like that. Like I was almost in between of sleeping and dreaming, like just falling asleep. And I swear to God, I either dreamt this, so I was almost about to fall asleep, and then from what I saw or what I dreamt, a hand came through my door slightly, like it was a little bit open, grabbed the door and slowly went like that. And it was probably like, I saw like a glimpse of it, like maybe a second, just like that, like a glimpse. And as soon as I saw what I thought was an alien hand coming through my door, I pretty much went into shock. And it was the most extreme experience of shock I've ever had in my life. Like, I've heard of people being so scared they can't move, but I've never like actually felt that before. And I swear to God, I could not stop convulsing for 2 minutes. Like, I was like, just like shaking, just like, oh my God. I couldn't move. There was no movement. I could not control my muscles. I was just shaking. So the really weird thing about going through the shock was, as soon as I realized, it took me about 1 second to realize that it was no alien, it was just a dream. But I noticed it was no dream. Nothing was coming through the doorway, but I was still in shock. Like, I was still shaking and I couldn't move. I couldn't control my muscles. I couldn't control anything. It was the weirdest feeling I ever had in my life. And I don't know if anyone's ever had shock like that from like terror, from just like so scared, just like weirdest feeling ever. And Joe Rogan kind of talks about something like this. He looks way into aliens and stuff, and I watch his podcast a lot. Is that it's possible that aliens is just like a subconscious thing that happens when you're just about in REM sleep or a certain kind of sleep, that you'll see entities or stuff like that, and who knows what it really is. But yeah, those are my alien experiences. Nothing really that I can be like, oh yeah, I saw an alien and I was abducted and I saw UFOs. Never saw a UFO in my life, but I've had some weird stuff happen. Now, my second biggest fear with mythical creatures is definitely Bigfoot. Bigfoot freaks me right out, but it's like both aliens and Bigfoot I'm like really interested in. I love to learn about, hear the stories and stuff like that. It's weird. It's kind of like I'm super scared of them, but I still want to learn about them and stuff. Now, for Bigfoot experiences, I could probably only say that I've had maybe 2 experiences, if you could call that experiences. But okay, the first time was really simple. I just walked outside. I think I was smoking a cigarette or something like that back in the day when I used to smoke. And I was just sitting out there. It was nighttime, and I heard this like the weirdest howl. Like it sounded like an ape, but it was like the weirdest screeching kind of whooping howl. Like I've never heard that before in my life. I've lived up in Alaska and Canada, so I've heard all the like the wildlife and what it sounds like and stuff. Weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. Now the second experience is the only one I have any kind of proof of. So I think it happened about 3 years ago, back when I was doing line locating. And as a line locator, we would go behind like bush cutters. Like they would go out and clear a bunch of trees down, and they would get it ready for putting an oil rig in. So our job, once they cleared off all the trees, we would go behind and scan it and make sure there's no pipes in the ground, which is pretty impossible, but it's the law here, so you have to do it. And so we're just walking down this area with all the trees cut and everything mowed down. But there was still lots of snow on the ground. It was about 3 feet, 2.5 feet high. So we were just walking around, and I look over down a cut line. A cut line is pretty much just like a path that's cut through the trees that just goes straight for kilometers and kilometers. And they kind of cross into areas that are cleared for making oil rigs. So we're just walking around and walking past one of these cut lines. So I just happened to look to the right, and I noticed some weird footsteps or weird tracks in the snow. So I stopped and I looked at it, and I was like, those look really weird. Like, what kind of animal would make a track like that? And I just sat there and looked. I'm like, wait, I better go look at this. And I went and I looked, and no joke, it looked exactly like a giant human-like footprint in the snow, way bigger than my foot. It was easily probably 16 inches or something like that. It was pretty damn giant. The strides were ridiculous. I tried to walk it out, and it was literally like my longest stride, just like a clown walk. Like there was no possible way that there was someone walking like that. So that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, taken pictures of, videotaped it. I wish I would have videotaped it more, but I was kind of on the clock working, so I quickly took a bunch of photos and stuff, and I took a video. I'll show you guys here right away. And I pretty much made my helper a believer of Bigfoot that day, because it was so like the evidence was right there in her face. We both knew animal tracks, and we've never seen an animal track like that before in my life. So really, really weird stuff. Here we have found the elusive Sasquatch track.
Are you recording that now?
Yeah. Evidence, you can see the toe imprints in there. There's the big toe. Another one, another one. There's another one right there. Just sticking right in there. Fucking Yetis. And yeah, that brings me to one of my projects I want to do. So once I get back to the Philippines, I really want to go make a documentary film about like all the folklore creatures and stuff like that, because there's a lot of weird creatures that I've never heard of. Like there's one where it's like a ghoul where I guess half the body's cut off and the guts is always falling out and stuff like that, and people seen it. There's like a vampire, Aswang, that's the most famous one. Aswang is like a vampire mixed with like a demon, mixed with like a succubus, mixed with like a whole bunch of different things. So it's pretty weird. So it's pretty interesting stuff. There's been a few documentaries made on it, but I kind of want to make something a bit newer. Also, I talked to Mitchie about like aliens and stuff, and I've never heard of alien encounters in the Philippines. She's never heard of alien encounters by anyone. She's never heard of anyone seeing UFOs, so it definitely seems that maybe it happens a lot more in the North America than compared to like Southeast Asia. But yeah, that's something I want to get into, and I'm thinking it could be really interesting stuff. So I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on making a documentary on this kind of subject. If it's something you guys are interested in, please leave a comment below and tell me what you think, and if it's a good idea, if it's a bad idea. And yeah, so it'll be cool to hear what you guys think, and until next time, peace out.